Hi, I'm James Tanner, and welcome to Quick Views of Genealogy. Today, we're going to talk about the Family Search Library Catalog. Now, this catalog used to be called the Family History Library Catalog, but the catalog now comprises the holdings of all of the Family Search libraries, including the 15 large Family Search libraries that are scattered around the western United States. So it is a little bit more expansive than it was previously. To get to the catalog, you're going to need to sign in to FamilySearch.org. I've already signed in, so we'll just go to onto the location of the catalog. First of all, the catalog is located under the search link at the top of the page. I'm moving my mouse around, and I'm going to click the search link, which will take me directly to the page that contains a link to the catalog. There are 5 items on the links on the search page: records, genealogies, catalog, books, and wiki. In reality, there's really 4, because the catalog has all of the books and indicates which of those books have been digitized. But having a separate catalog entry, a search engine for the books, is probably useful. Gives people the idea that there are digitized materials available in the catalog. By clicking on the Family History Library Catalog, you'll have the current search engine. Now, there's been some particular types of criticisms of the new search engine versus the old search engine. And so when you look at this presently at this catalog entry, you'll see that it says the catalog's in beta and that you can visit the previous version. This is the previous version of the catalog. In that version, you had a place search, a surname search, keyword search, title, film and fee search, author search, subject search, and a call number search. But for our purposes today, the catalog will, as it appears in the beta version, will be very sufficient. I think the most important thing to understand about the Family Search Catalog is that it mirrors the way that documents are found in the real world. So that if you are looking for a document about an ancestor, you need to search in the location where that document might be found. So for example, if your ancestor came from New York, you would search in New York for documents. And likewise in catalogs set up to help genealogists, the place search is probably the most valuable one. Now, you can begin a search in the catalog by simply looking for your ancestor. So you can put a book in a search by a last name, by a title of a book or record, by the author, a subject, or use a keyword. Keywords are very helpful in focusing your searches down to specific records. But let's give an example. I'll do a search on one of the names of my ancestors. How about my own surname? So we'll say Tanner and use the word genealogy to modify the Tanner. Now I'll click on the search. The search comes up with no results. There's been an interesting response that I found to the catalog. Actually, what the problem here is a very simple problem. It has to do with capitalization of the word. And also in checking the right type of of search. In here, if I went to subjects, and did a search, I'm still not finding anything on this subject. If I go to keywords, still no results. Now, am I going to assume by doing this exercise that there are no books on Tanner genealogy in this particular library? Probably not. But if I take out all the search terms here and we go to solely searching on last names, and if I put in a keyword of genealogy and do my search, I have 189 results, including a number of books that are useful to me, and some which are rather interesting to contemplate. For example, here's a book called 6 James Tanners. I guess my name is far from unique. Now, what did I just do that created the problem? The problem was in selecting the correct categories for searching. So I am convinced that many times the search is made and a 0 response is obtained, and it's merely a question of selecting the categories correctly and not including a category that is not going to have any responses. So for example, if I look for a place name of Tanner, it's not likely that there will be any place names named Tanner. Could be, but not likely. Okay, so let's run through that again. I'm going to select the category, in this case last names, and that's the only thing that I will select in this case, and do a search. Now I get 251 results. So interestingly, you can get different results based upon the combination of different fields that you enter. So let's say if I put in now the keyword, and I'm just going to put in the keyword of genealogy and do another search, I'm back to the 189 responses to my search. Now I want to, let's go back to the place name search, and I want to show how the program is organized, how the search engine here works with the Family History Library Catalog. Now, contrary to what you'd want to do, and I would suggest that you search from the general to the specific. And the reason why I always suggest that and use that as an illustration is because I think that that people need to understand that there are records at each level of jurisdiction. So, for example, I could look for United States and look for United States records. And when I search, I would come up with records that are kept on the United States level. That is, records generally pertaining to the entire country. And as you can see as I scroll through this, that I'm only to the H's and I'm still scrolling, that there are a huge number of records that pertain to the United States. Wars, censuses, history of areas of the country, all sorts of different things that are in the United States category of place. But of course we want to narrow that down just a little And so we want to look for the state records, which would be the next level of records available that may contain information about our ancestors. I can do that by putting in a comma, which will give me the areas of the United States in a selection. So I can look by region, northeastern states, northwestern states, Pacific, all different types of regional records that were kept on that kind of a basis. So for example, if I went to the United States West and searched again, I would come up with another huge list of records that would apply to the western part of the United States. But let's put in a state. I'm going to take out the United States at this point, and I'm going to put in a state. In this case, I'll use New York as an example. And when I do that search, I find all of the New York records that are cataloged by New York in the Family History Library Catalog. Now, this may seem to be a rather intimidatingly large list, but I would suggest that any of the records on a state level that fall within the time period that your ancestors lived in the state of New York, or any other state for that matter, may very well be relevant to a search for your ancestors. So, when I explain this to people, usually what I see is their shoulders drop and they get a little bit desperate looking, thinking of all of the records that they need to search. But I think that's a realistic way of apprising the vast number of records that may apply to your ancestors, whether or not you know about them. And after you have looked at the New York records, you can put in a comma following New York, and the catalog will give you a list of all of the counties in that particular state. So, for example, if you were looking for Oneida County, New York, or Onondaga County, one of the counties. So let's look at Allegheny County, New York, and search again. These are going to be the records in the Family History Library Catalog for that county. Now note in each one that there's a number after each of the entries. The number indicates the number of items in that particular category. So if you click on the little triangles, you'll see the actual records listed in order in those particular categories. So they come up in alphabetical order once they've been pre-sorted into the county. Now these are obviously not duplicative of the records in the state. So when you're doing a search for United States records or for the state records, you're actually looking at a different set of records than those when you get down to the county level. So it behooves everyone who is searching to look through every level that may apply to their ancestor. Now, for example, you may want to read a history of Allegheny County if that's where your people came from. There are a number of books here on Allegheny County histories. If I click on the name of the item, I get a summary of that particular record. And in addition to that, if the record has been digitized, then the digital version of the record will have a link right here in the catalog. So now if I find that this history of Allegheny County, New York has a link to a digital version, I can click on that link and a digital version of the program will begin loading. Look down here in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see the item loading into the computer. Now, this should only take a few seconds unless it's a very, very large item. But in effect, what it's doing is creating a PDF copy of the entire document downloaded to your computer. Okay, now it's complete it has completed loading the item, and so the item should appear in the screen. And because this is a digitized record, and in this case a book, the book is going to appear complete. So you'll have the entire book, including all of the illustrations to the book. Okay, now we're going to go back to the history of Allegheny County and back to the search results. And we're going to add one more comma to our list. And in that case, you get a list of all of the towns or population areas where the library catalog has records. So in this case, if we go through, you can see the names of all the different towns. And when you click on the name of one of those, you'll get these. So for example, this is Allentown, and I do a search, further search, now I have New York, Allegheny, Allentown church records. I click on that item and I've got parish registers from 1910 to 1917 of the University Mission of the Episcopal Church of Allentown, New York. When you get down to local records like this, once again you do the same thing, and that is to look at records that match the time period that your ancestors lived in that particular location. Now, many of these books are going to be, or records are not going to be digitized yet, and are either going to have to be used at the Family History Library Catalog, in the Family History Library in Salt Lake City, or ordered through the microfilm ordering process, which you can do directly with the through the catalog. Now, we're going to have to go to a different subject and a different fast and quick view. But right now, to sum this up, I suggest that the catalog is a useful tool not just to find items of interest for your ancestors, but also to suggest records that may be applicable, and also to show and demonstrate in a very graphic way the different levels of jurisdictional records that may have been kept in which your ancestors could appear. I hope that you do find some of the records that be relating to your ancestors, and good luck in doing searches with the FamilySearch Library Catalog. We'll see you next time.